What do you think is one misconception that people have about EV startups?
Most of the guys who come into this place, underestimate the complexity of high-scale manufacturing.
So there was a lot of personal frustration involved in making this decision, right?
Certainly.
Their primary goal is, I need to get from point A to point B.
Obviously, they are not going to, worry about saving the environment.
Today, we're speaking to someone who's building mobility, not just for Indian roads, but for real Indian cities with congestion, safety issues, last mile chaos, and all of that. With decades of experience in autonomous systems, our guest today has pivoted during the pandemic to build something way more tangible for Indian streets. Let's welcome Mr. Sravan from iGo Mobility here. Hello, welcome to Brand Shark BS Talks, where BS stands for Brand Shark and not version. So yes, please introduce yourself to the audience and our listeners who want to be introduced to you.
Hello, very glad to be here. I'm Sravan. I'm founder of iGowise Mobility. So we are a smart mobility startup based almost Bangalore. So we have been working on mobility solutions since more than a decade, and more focused on personal mobility with emphasis on safety, comfort, and accessibility right now.
You come from a very deep tech autonomous system. What was the reason that you decided to pivot into building urban mobility within the city of Bangalore, let's say?
So yeah, I was working earlier, as a software engineer. I was working in Malaysia, Israel, quite a bit of places, and then returned to India to pursue my business education. But as a typical NRI, the biggest frustration of our, daily being back is, of course, the 3-hour commute. The pollution and the traffic congestion is going to drive us crazy, right? So that is something that has been bugging me for a long. And when I started working in the Vizag Smart City project, as a 100 Smart City mission of India, we were doing a lot of things. We were trying out many things, but on the ground, it doesn't seem like there's not much impact, right? So that is when it hit me, like until we fix mobility, until we provide access to dignified mobility, we cannot improve the life in a urban city, right? So that's the one of the drivers, during pandemic, decided to, try to understand the market further, and that dived in full.
So there was a lot of personal frustration involved in making this decision, right?
Certainly.
What was that experience?
So yeah, like I was saying, even before coming to Bangalore, I was in Hyderabad and all. But the biggest driver was in a 10-hour day, 3 hours we are spending on traffic, right? So it's very frustrating. What time that could be productive or time that could be, well spent with our family. We are driving and getting frustrated. And the amount of waste or the productivity that is lost because of this is just mind-boggling, right? So some of the estimates, just in Bangalore, it's estimated to be some 20,000 crores that we lose every year on traffic congestion, right? So that's not only a financial loss, but also there's a lot of mental health issue, the road rage that we see today, right? So it's contributing to a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, all those things, right? So these are all factors that we need to understand when we are building this, this is a complex problem, but there are very simple, effective solutions that go a long way, right? So low-hanging fruits that we need to address.
So you do realize that there is something fundamentally wrong with the current urban setting when it comes with regard to mobility. And what do you think those fundamental issues are?
So yeah, multiple things, right? So most fundamental is that there is not enough planning that is happening. Even that is planning that is happening, it's very haphazard, and there is no clear accountability.
Okay.
Right. So there are these separate departments of government that work in silos. Right. So there is a road transport organization, there is urban planning commission, there is a they work in their own silos. The traffic police work in their mode and all. Right. So there is a not a clear, consolidated accountability that is missing when it comes to urban problems and all. But at the same time, we have more autonomy and power at a panchayat level than at a municipal corporation level. Right. So there is a roundabout way that we are collecting taxes from, whether we buy a vehicle, we pay a road tax that goes to, a lot of hands before coming back on and work on work that is happening. Right. So if we provide, direct channel, so I choose what initiative that needs to be done on my locality. Yes, that happens in our panchayats, that happens in our villages more than our municipal corporations. We have to break those nexus. The third tier of government, municipal corporations, have to be more empowered and also held more accountable. So that is the way, a lot of problems can be solved, we believe.
Correct. And when did you think that a tilting trike is your solution instead of a conventional two-wheeler?
Right. So it's not a one-shot solution, right? But what we understood, we have spent almost 9 to 12 months especially during the pandemic, trying to understand. So it was really refreshing. Of course, the pandemic has been taken a toll on all our lives, but at the same time, the silver lining or the good part of it, we see the empty streets and not polluted cities that we were able to glimpse. So that also gave an inspiration that if we do certain things right, we can achieve those things sustainably. Right. So few of the problems that we resonate very well. Right. So that is number one, safety on two-wheelers is something that is a no-brainer. My mother has been a working woman. 40 years she worked and raised three sons. She has been an independent woman, but small incident on the road, she is now dependent on someone to take her around. She no longer want to ride a scooter. She's a little bit
The
scared.
trauma that comes.
Yeah, obviously, right? So that is something very close to my heart. At the same time, I see that, many elderly, many women, right? So if you see that almost 80% of Indian households own a two-wheeler, right? It's prevalent, but hardly less than 10% of women actually ride, right? So why is this such a huge gap? Even after, you have this auto gear and these provisions came after the scooter like Activa and, Honda have come about, right? So even after that, today you have less than 10% women actually ride a two-wheeler. So why is that such a huge gap, right? So this fundamentally the scooter itself, the training learning curve itself is high, right? So those balancing issues, safety on our potholes, skidding issues, right? So without unprovoked, there is a chance of skidding, especially if it's a rainy day and all. So those are the issues that we are trying to solve.
And your tilting trike solves all of these problems.
So yes, a bulk of them, right? So our idea is to provide better road grip with our trike. Obviously, if you look at maths or even history, a triangle is a very strong, stable structure, right? So your tripods are built in a triangle shape for that particular reason. It's the simplest yet stable structure compared to a two-wheeler. What happens is a two-wheeler, it is very agile. It's very compact. Those are the benefits. But when you are at low speed, right, you still need to use your legs to balance it.
Correct.
So that is what we can eliminate with that. But at the same time, our twin wheel, what we refer to as a twin wheel, that provides better road grip than any motorcycle. Any motorcycle, including a sports bike with a very fat tire, it will also not provide the same contact patch that we provide.
Okay.
So that's the most important element of our trike.
So to set context for our listeners, do tell us more about the iGo Expo. That is your main product, right? Please give us more details and what are the features of that particular
Right.
trike.
So yeah, BIGO is our first model, which is already hitting the market. We are already deployed many vehicles in the logistics space, whereas in the retail market we are starting from this March. So this is a very unique, interesting format where what we refer to as a family utility vehicle, right? So anyone in the family should be able to use it. That's the core essence of our vehicle. So that accessibility, right? So a senior, grandfather or a working woman or even a teenager who is just trying to learn a vehicle, right? So accessibility throughout the family is something that we are very much proud of building about.
And where does the sustainability angle come in here?
So in multiple ways, okay, sustainability, when we refer to, most of the discussion goes towards, carbon emissions and electrification, right? So that is an important part of it, but it is very small part of it in our opinion. When we refer to reducing carbon emissions, that's an important aspect, but we also need to reduce the road footprint, right? So if someone like me is traveling here on a 2000 kg SUV, right? So just I'm like 70 kg traveling on a 2000 kg item. So I'm moving a lot of dead metal.
Correct.
Okay, but I don't have other alternatives as of today, right? So this, for my safety, for my weather protection and all, I'm moving a very bulky vehicle, which is not, my vehicle is designed for expressways, right? So it's designed for 150 kilometers per hour. I'm using in a 15 kilometers per hour of traffic, right? So this is part of sustainability that is not being discussed.
Absolutely. I don't think a daily common man is going to calculate saying, okay, my car is going to leave this much. For them, their primary goal is I need to get from point A to point B.
Very well said. That's exactly what our thought process is also. Obviously, they are not going to, worry about saving the environment and carbon emissions unless their existing needs are first met. Right? That is safety on our roads, comfortable ride from A to B. Right? If I'm buying a vehicle, can my elderly grandfather can use it or not? So these are the elements that need to be addressed, right? So the parking struggles that we have by using a very bulky vehicle, right? So unless these are addressed, it doesn't matter, right? So we are talking about electrification. Even if we do 100% electrification of our cars, we are adding 12,000 new cars every day.
Correct.
So just imagine what kind of
so in fact, really the balance is not really striking in my opinion.
That's exactly what we are trying to fight. We need to opt for contextual vehicles. Okay, when you are on a highway, maybe a four-wheeler is your best bet.
Adaptability.
Exactly. And when you are within a city, you need to opt for smaller vehicles, compact vehicles. But that doesn't mean you compromise on your safety or your comfort. That's the core.
Everyone talks about range, charging, and subsidies. What has been the most uncomfortable truth that you've come to learn about after entering the EV business?
So again, interesting question. Subsidies, when you're referring to, right? So obviously the intent was in the right direction when we talk about sustainability. We have provided a lot of consumer centric incentives. It's not only about sustainability to reduce our oil imports, etc. Right? But the fundamental missing piece is that are we giving enough time for our startups and especially the technology oriented startups to do in-house R&D, right? So we need to promote a lot of in-house R&D before we are promoting the incentives for customers or Otherwise, there's a lot of skewing, right? So that's the reason, like, if you go 1.5 year back or so, there used to be this influx of, imported vehicles that were, flooding our roads. So that's the bottom line. Like, we need to support startups who are doing indigenous R&D. We need to provide that focus on technology, and we need to build a sense of confidence that yes, India can not only transition from services to products, we can transition from products to technology oriented solutions, right? So that is something I think is just picking up pace. That's we have been lagging. That is one part of it that I'd like to add. At the same time,
Infrastructure is a main issue that we as a country face towards the growth of EV.
so that is again one part of it. When we talk about infrastructure, typically people talk about charging infrastructure.
Yes.
Yes, but
We won't have that access in a rural. Our audience, the point of providing safety and accessibility, and I'm sure the cost-effective nature is for a B and C tier
right.
of a. But does our country, as a government, provide us with those facilities? No.
And it is partly true, but what we feel is it doesn't need to.
Okay.
Right? Not everything has to be top down.
Okay.
Right? So the tier 3 and beyond, the rural villages, if you look, they are far more innovative in the way they approach, right? So they're even if you take a case of our mobile phones and all, right? So nobody thought the rural India will adopt smartphones and SIM cards and now UPI so fast.
Yes.
Right? So our bet is, again, you don't need to be top down. You don't need to be charging infrastructure heavy. A rural farmer is actually paying lot more for accessing petrol, right?
Yes.
Sometimes he has to go 15-20 kilometers to the next town to get hold of petrol.
Correct.
Whereas electricity is more accessible for him today.
Correct.
Right? So charging infrastructure, you don't need to have incentive driven policies. You can democratize that with a simple incentives. Most of the, like our smartphones, again, as referring to, because we want to categorize the charging infrastructure needs for a heavy vehicle like a 4-wheeler versus a small vehicle for a 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler is quite different.
Okay.
Right? It's 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers are more closer to our smartphones in that area. So you don't need a charging infrastructure for our smartphone.
Correct.
Right? So this similarly, you have access to electricity. You just need to enable. That becomes a second revenue generator for these guys. A kirana store guy, chai wala.
If they all have power banks or charging setups, that's another source. That's so.
And you have a captive customer who is waiting like for 15-20 minutes at your. He is going to indulge in some activities, right? So that becomes a revenue driver for you.
That's an interesting thought, because for me, it's about like a petrol bunk. Like if you don't have a petrol bunk, you are not going to get past the particular last mile.
That's right.
But how do you see the EV consumers in India grow in the next 3 to 5 years? How do
So
you see
yeah,
that?
it will be unlike what people are expecting, right? So the technology or the adoption or the leapfrogging, we are very much averse to. Like I was giving the examples of smartphone, UPI. There are several examples of the same, right? So we are going to leapfrog, but not because of government subsidies or not because of fuel savings, right? So fuel savings is one important part, but again, not a game changing thing for someone. When he finds value in this new set of vehicles, new formats, that's when adoption really happens. Like I was saying, there are clear addressable gaps, like women who are not comfortable with a regular 2-wheeler. Right? So there are folks who are using their 2-wheelers today for livelihood.
Correct.
But they clearly want to upgrade. But the nearest option for them, an auto rickshaw, costs 3.5 lakhs. So, from moped to 3.5 lakhs auto rickshaw, it's a huge leap for them,
Correct.
right? So when that value is unlocked, we can provide an affordable alternative in between. That's when real adoption takes place. That's our bet as well. So similarly, like a small family, I was referring to, like, you have a four-wheeler at home, SUV with 6 airbags and, all the latest bells and whistles. But when you need to take, get something or get your child from school,
You're going to take the bike.
right? So, but my wife is scared of taking the bike because, like, Bangalore potholes and all.
Yeah.
She knows she may not find parking. She may get stuck in traffic. Still, she will use the four-wheeler, right? That is where a new format can really come in. Compact vehicles that provide that safety and comfort. And those are the real drivers, we believe, that will allow us to leapfrog.
Okay. Do you think that we'll move from EV being the cheaper choice to EV being the smarter lifestyle choice?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the trajectory also, even in the Western world, right? So Tesla has become the household name primarily because of that reason. So everyone was trying to offer a cheaper alternative, whereas what Tesla made it aspirational by providing more speed for that market.
Correct.
But instead of emulating that concept, we are trying to imitate that concept. We are also trying to provide more faster electric vehicles. So the speed matters a lot, especially on a Western autobahn and all, right? Whereas in our context, more than speed, safety and comfort, these are the elements that are more favored, right? Still, more than the cost savings, if we provide value in whichever format. Yeah, some markets may, like some youngsters obviously like adrenaline and speed, right? So, but there are other target markets where an elderly gentleman prefers more comfortable vehicle. So that's when real adoption happens.
Where do you think that safety, design, comfort is ranking in the current scenario, where versus where it should actually be ranked?
So that's a tricky one. Like, there are so many folks who have, advised us that, like, nobody bothers about safety. Okay, India market, this jugaad market and this chalta hai is happens. But our bet is something different, right? So what our observation is, if you go back like 5 to 7 years, even in four-wheelers, nobody used to talk about 5-star ratings and how many airbags and all those things, right? So today, the biggest selling point of a Tata vehicle is that
if something happens to you, we will try our best to save you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? So nobody expected that. You will talk about safety as the biggest selling point for a four-wheeler. That happened just within a span of 3 to 5 years, right? So, and the same, we are very much think that is the case. There is no reason it is not the case in smaller vehicles also. Safety and comfort are the pillars that are going to drive the next scale of adoption. You have plenty of choices. When you want a racing bike, performance bike, you have good options. You want to show your social presence and masculinity, you have this those kind of vehicles, bikes and all, right? But when you are a family person, the simple
feasible.
Yeah, so it's what you are looking for is family safety above everything else, right? So that is true. Personally, that is true more or less, across the society. That's what our bet is.
Understood. So you did previously mention that a lot of people use these two-wheelers as a sign of livelihood. If we step out on the roads, we are being swarmed with these quick commerce delivery agents, right? So are there particular brands who have adopted to iGowise vehicle? Are there any particular brands or companies that have adopted it now?
Most certainly, like, we have had a very limited set of vehicles that we have built already. These are pre-production vehicles, but we have collected more than 1 lakh kilometers of real world customer data.
Okay.
It is not just a lab kind of environment. So we have a small startup that's just recently raised funds also. Is3 laundry service, right? So they have been using our vehicles since last 7 to 8 months.
Okay.
And they were super happy because they're like merchandise they were carrying on two-wheelers and all. There's you don't never know, it will rain and spoil the items that are ironed, right? Or if you go for a four-wheeler or a three-wheeler, it's very expensive. So they are very happy. We have done extensive trials from the bigger players like Big Basket, Amazon, and all, but also very niche, underserved cases like a toy subscription company, Elephant Toys. They are also part of brand Shark Tank and all.
Yeah.
So there is a plants delivery company. There is a health drink company called Nira in Bangalore, who is currently using our vehicles, and they were super happy. They want to do in bulk like 500,000 vehicles and go to the across Karnataka, right? So they need a insulated requirement because their juice has to stay intact, right? So very interesting use cases that are emerging, right?
So your fleet, the data that you have, the 1 lakh kilometer of data of real-time uses that you have are from these fleet services.
Mostly, yes.
So why is it easier to get that data from fleet services than individual consumers?
Yeah, primarily for that reason that, number one, their usage is more, where a personal consumer hardly uses 10-15 kilometers, maybe 20 kilometers in a day. So even though we have done few trials with them also, but it's more or less, it's very straightforward for a elderly gentleman, how stable it is it comfortable or not? For a woman, when she's taking, the data that we get is very straightforward. You don't need extensive usage and all. From these guys, we get like, real abuse data, right? So our kind of like, there are so many cases of overload. So we'll get, all the things that need to be tested, get tested on Bangalore roads and all. So that way we have minimized our product life cycle, instead of endurance test only on the lab. We have done a few endurance tests ourselves from Bangalore to Hyderabad, Bangalore to Chennai, Bangalore to Ooty, Mysore, Kodaikanal. So very different terrains, different weather conditions. So those that we have done. But at the same time, but it's always different when the customer uses it, right? So how they are actually understanding the vehicle, is it intuitive enough for them? And the kind of problems also that we face, initial challenges that will be completely different from what we thought this is going to be a challenge for them, right? But it turns out it's completely different. So that's a real learning that we get when we validate closely from our customers.
Vehicles are definitely getting like smarter, and infrastructure I still feel is lagging. Right, that is the truth of it. And I would like to, I think there is no one better than you to answer this question for me. So when the concept of EV came into my life, this is a very individual personal note.
Right.
I had people saying, oh no, the advent of EV is very bad. It's the reason why I'm from a different city of Chennai, where they said that the reason your December floods are happening, the flash floods are happening, is because there is a surge of EV vehicles, and that is doing cloud seeding. And that's why there is more rain. And I was like, this cannot be true. But is it? Is there a contribution?
So this is like, extrapolation at the, how do I don't know, advise. So
Exactly. I don't know who else to ask this question.
See, any new technology, what I can tell is that any new technology comes with resistance.
Correct.
Right? So it could be, I recall.
India is not Silicon
No,
Valley.
no. Even in Silicon Valley, this is true, right? So across the board, human like psychology is such that's a limited number of folks who will try to drive the new things, whereas the adoption from the masses is always a bit laggy. right? So if you look at, I recall, my parents working in BSNL, and then, computers coming into the mainstream, right? So there's a lot of resistance that, like, computers will eat away jobs, right? So it's the same is true in the banking industry. You will have less jobs, less number of people working, so there lot of mass layoffs will be there. So that will be there, like, the older jobs give way to newer jobs, like, so there are any new technology comes with a fair share of resistance. At the same time, it's also important to understand the real value add versus, potential, like, perceived value add, right? So this lot of drive from, the Western entities that comes, like, from the sustainability angle. That's where most resistance comes. If you look at overall a petrol vehicle's journey from, start the mining of the fuel to the vehicle production to there's a lot of energy involved. There is a lot of carbon emissions involved. The same is true with electric vehicles also. While it is much better with respect to efficiency and with respect to pollution, polluting not the city where most of the people are there, it's still not like 100% clean, right? So, but our value proposition is that people don't bother about, like, how clean it is, right? So you are driving that with your agenda and all, but if it is valuable for them, they are going to adopt.
Correct.
Irrespective of the resistance, those who find
Convenience is what they always see.
absolutely, absolutely.
Correct. Which parts of the EV ecosystem do you think is underexplored and deserves more attention? The financing, the maintenance and servicing, charging, or accessibility aspect?
Very interesting. So, accessibility again is something very core to us, right? That is something really missing, but it's not all of those are in essence, like, some parts we have gone some way, but we really have to make a lot of strides when it comes to financing. There is still a lot of uncertainty. Most of it is like these perceived notions, lack of resale value, etc. These are more perceived notions than reality. If you are betting on good quality products, there is enough market out there already, and it is improving by the day. Service and maintenance, again, very interesting part. While it is very common knowledge that, like, the number of parts are lower, the number of maintenance required is also should be lower. It's very intuitive, but unfortunately that is not been the case. Whatever be the reason, there's a lot of uncertainty and apprehension when it comes to EV maintenance and all those things, primarily because, like, we are trying to go very fast in the adoption scale, but we also need to focus on sustainable adoption.
Correct.
Right. So
even from a manufacturing angle, right?
Of course, especially from manufacturing angle, if we are trying to build, go fast, like it's this fail fast kind of Silicon Valley model, they may not work in a safety oriented hardware product.
Correct.
Right? So we are bringing these vehicles that are built for some other roads, bringing here and assembling that may not work for our roads, our usage, the kind of customer that we have. If we understand that,
we are the country that has 8 people on a bike.
So yes, that's a bit of stretch that even we cannot solve. But certainly we can reduce the impact. We can understand the impulse why that much of a gap is there, right? So it is not like a family wants to purposefully endanger their family members, right? So, but because of the lack of options, they are forced to do that.
Correct.
They're desperate enough to do that. So that if we understand those nuances, we can build properly. So that is how we are.
So more about your vehicle. a lot of these batteries of these EVs are placed at the bottom. You spoke about how our vehicles are adapted, like you can't assemble parts that you build in other countries and bring it to India. Correct. Our roads are I'm sure are the worst roads we most across the world. And our clearance is also pretty debatable.
Right.
And our road structures are also, like I mentioned before, infrastructure is laggy. So your battery is at the bottom of your vehicle. How do you ensure that nothing gets disrupted? We all understand in a diesel petrol vehicle that the tank is placed in a way that it does not get disturbed.
Right.
But with EV battery, anything and everything can just...
So yeah, very good question. Again, like we say, the one of the core benefits of an electric vehicle is also your most heavy item is at the bottom of the vehicle, which provides you better stability. The lower your center of gravity, it offers much more stability, much more handling capability. Even a non-experienced rider can handle the vehicle better because of that advantage. That of course raises your concern, at least on the safety and compatibility for our roads, etc. Right? So it's an interesting question. But if you look at the batteries, any four-wheeler you take, it is the same format. Your battery is at the bottom of the vehicle, right? So you need to provide decent ground clearance. At the same time, most of our batteries are already built to handle that, right? So we provide like 180 ground clearance, which is comparable to an SUV of today, right? So that's
what about usage during floods, for instance?
Yeah, so again, with the latest government regulations, it's streamlined. We have started this process quite a while back, but now, with the government regulations being very stringent, the AS norms are very clear on the IP rating of batteries. Any battery today that is being manufactured is much more stable with respect to water protection than a petrol engine or a petrol tank can ever be, right? So they have got a head start. The petrol engine and all, like 50 to 100 years, they've been getting refined. But at the end of the day, there's 1,000 micro explosions that are happening on a petrol engine, right? So, but still, we were able to engineer it's in a reasonably safe way. And the same is already true for today's batteries. Even the lithium-based batteries that we are using, lithium iron phosphate, very stable. Very effectively, is capable of waterproofing and all. And at the same time, the kind of weather fluctuations that we have, right? So it is provides long life and very stable for our kind of weather, right? So it can take any kind of damage also, even during an extreme scenario of an accident also. That's the part that is most secure and provides, there's no need for concern at all, right? So that's inbuilt the way we have engineered. At the same time, it's tested. Even the government authorities have, the kind of norms that have been set. It's fully fail-proof. Yes.
Okay. So you're saying it is fail-proof, but for another situation I might be ending up in is, for instance, I'm in a remote village where I do not have the access to a charging port. What is your alternative solution to... I know that I can always find a petrol bunk in the current scenario in the world that we are in.
Right.
So I'm in a remote village and I know even if it's 20 kilometers, there will be a petrol station.
Right.
But will there be an EV charging port? What is the mechanism that you support your EV trikes with?
Wonderful. That's one of the biggest causes of concern when someone like us talks about going to rural market and all. But if you look about the other way, electricity is more, like I was mentioning, accessible. Bringing electricity to the rural home, it took quite a while for us, but we are there. Like 99% of Indian villages are already electrified. And you coming to your point of going 20 kilometers to find the nearest petrol bunk, you will find a petrol bunk today. It has not been the case like if you go 40-50 years back, right? So now you have access within 15-20 kilometers. But electricity, you don't need even to go to 15-20 kilometers, right? You are out of charge on your smartphone. Like,
So you're telling me a plug point can serve?
absolutely, it should serve and it can serve, right? So with a regular home socket, we can charge our battery within 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Right, so you don't need a fancy charging station, very fast charging station. You don't need expensive swap networks across tier 3, tier 4. You just need a home plug point, right? To top that, we have a very interesting concept that we are working with one of our partners in Hyderabad, Patnaik Energy Group. So what we are working is on a portable power bank.
Okay.
Okay, so
one that you can keep. We have our EV two-wheelers having that battery.
Yeah, just like our smartphone, we used to carry around power banks. Today, you don't need as many power banks and all. But our battery infrastructure is also, battery potential is also improving for a two-wheeler. Typically, you can go 100-120 kilometers in regular batteries and all, which is more than enough for many of us. But at the same time, just in case you are stuck somewhere, stranded somewhere, you can dial up, or you can tap a button on your phone. You can bring the power to your station rather than you going to a charging network.
That is a very interesting way of solving a problem, because of course now I have an access to the power bank, but my question here is how are you planning to educate the people about the misconceptions about EV? Not everyone's going to have the opportunity that I have where I can ask you these questions. Where do you see iGo educating, informing people about the myths?
So yeah, this is interesting because the way we understand the market, at least the kind of inquiries that we get, right? So we haven't hardly done any marketing as a startup. We were just about to get started, but bulk of our, at least 60% of our inquiries come from tier 3, tier 4 cities, and most of them are like 50-year-olds, so that they are very desperate for something like this, right? So more safety, more comfort conscious customers, right? I don't see a need to educate them at all. Like, they understand the nuances. Most of them are, at least well experienced folks. They've seen quite a bit of journey. And the best part of it is having gone through the smartphone journey. They understand battery, they understand electric power as such, right? So this is not new concept to them. What we see, again, the best form of education, again, not from the brand, from your customers only. Word of mouth is the best form of explain. They can explain better about our brand. Even the guy I was telling about, the health drink company in Bangalore, Neera. So they do a lot more marketing on our behalf than we do ourselves, right? So if you solve real problem, if you provide real value, the best thing that your customer give is not their money, it's their word.
Yeah, right? Testimonial works the best.
Best, definitely.
Okay. From a founder's lens, what do you think what is the effort that is going to be involved in making EV mobility as your lifestyle choice as seamless and easy, as invisible as UPI payment transaction? We didn't realize how much, for us, if you didn't have cash, you didn't have money. Now, if somebody says no to me for UPI, I get agitated.
Right.
How can you not have UPI? It's the same thing it should be the same thing. Do you think EV will replace petrol, diesel vehicles also? So it's two questions bundled as well.
So again, the fundamental has to be strong. The foundation has to be strong, right? So when we talk about UPI, the foundation it didn't happen overnight, right? So many of us feel like, with the demonetization or so, it happened quite a bit. It accelerated, but the foundation was much stronger underlying. So this is something, it's if you see, quite surprising that not many countries even today are able to replicate that. Right, so that is number one. The same is true for even in the EV space. The foundation has to be strong. We are trying to chase these random targets. 2030, someone tells, the 35, someone tell. It doesn't matter the exact date when it will happen, right?
But
what
you
what
think it's going to happen?
Yeah, what should happen? Like, it will happen if we do the fundamentals right. If we get the fundamentals right, which is stronger focus on indigenous R&D, right? Stronger focus on service oriented approach, right?
Okay.
So access to finance. These are the fundamentals that can help, right? But this bottom line, instead of trying to drive EV, right? If we start solving people's problems, people's real challenges that are not being addressed. Any petrol vehicle was not able to address the safety on two-wheelers or the comfort on two-wheelers, but electric powertrain can. If we do that, adoption will be much faster, instead of trying to compete with where the petrol vehicle does it best, right? When it comes to speed and adrenaline, a sports bike powered by petrol engine is much better than a electric motorcycle. But when it comes to providing comfort or safety, electric powertrain should be much better, because it's a far more effective, far less complex, right? So if we leverage the best parts of electric powertrain, it is possible, but the fundamentals has to be strong.
Fair enough. When is your product hitting the retail market?
So retail, yes, we are all set. By this March, we are hoping to scale up, at least in key regions, Bangalore and probably Hyderabad and Pune.
Okay.
So we have this Diwali, we have opened our pre-bookings for a short duration. We have got 4 times subscription oversubscribed.
Oh, damn. Congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, we are getting all the things ready for the product to be available. At least in the retail market. We have rolled out our dealership model also. A lot of franchisees that are interested. We are in the evaluation phase, and we'll be partnering with multiple folks. And hopefully by this Ugadi, we'll be in the market.
I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
So if a young founder approaches you and asks you where to not set up an EV business, what would you say?
So an EV business?
Yeah. And if it's a particular section that you do not in my area, you can say, but
nowhere, I would say, like, so it's a tough industry, right? Especially if building hardware products is not easy, trying to create a new category, of course, is not easy, right? So, someone without a strong, family backing, someone trying to do, because it's a high visibility industry. You get a lot of media attention, but that also it feels sexy, and a lot of people enter with that
fame.
Enter with that expectation, but without strong backing, it becomes very, very challenging for someone starting from this, right? So but at the same time, just don't go with wrong expectations. But if you understand the market nuances enough, understand your customer pulse and the market gap enough, yes, this can be very rewarding as well, right? So that's the core. It's a tough business. Don't come with wrong expectations, but if you are clear, you have clarity, then you can make it really work.
Your advice really plays as a blanket for all aspects of life. Like a lot of founders have always been like, it might seem very dazzling on the outside, but the work and the commitment and the risk that is involved is massive.
Certainly. It's applies across the board.
So how big is your team? Who are the core brains behind the operations that you run?
Right. So we have a short small team committed folks. We have a team of 17 people. Okay. And yeah, so we work very collaborative way, which, across the board, there are no like strict roles. Yes, it's more fuzzy. Whatever needs to be get done, we get done. That includes like, folks who work, from someone like a software background. I'm working on a very core hardware product. And similarly, there are folks who are from design phase to the mechanical and automobile aspects, from the electric powertrain, software integration. So it's across the board, that a lot of technology that is involved, and most of our guys are all-rounders.
Oh, that's more honestly, running from business operations side, that's most a cost-effective decision I could make.
So
Multitasker.
that's the need of the
Correct. But on a long-term scale, do you see iGo to be India first company or an export-ready brand?
Yeah. So, if you look closely, our logo, iGo, also looks like 190. So that is one of our, intentional aspects, like, to reach a global positioning, right? So our core is that in India, not only can transition from service to product, but we can become a technology powerhouse.
Okay.
That is only possible with a lot of investment in R&D and indigenous technology. But that is something that we need to prove. If you look at the history of automobile in India, even the giants like, Hero or Bajaj or, even Tata, they started with foreign technology. We imported technology and started gradually building the technical.
Made it original for ourselves, correct.
But this is an approach that we are taking, very few players before us have taken, Ether, Ultraviolet, etc. We are a technology first company, and we want to go global, not just, here and there, but our technology can really scale. That's our core belief. And we don't want to do it all alone as well, right? So we are identifying partners across various countries, which can contextualize, which can help take our platform and build their own skin, build their own personality that makes sense for the local market. Right? If you are going for your product, trying to push your made product, which is built for Indian roads, right?
It's basically engine adaptation that cars do.
Yeah, exactly. Platform-based approach is very common across 4 years, right? So Toyota and Suzuki, the biggest manufacturers in the world, they share platforms.
Correct.
So we should be ready for that.
Absolutely. So just a quick rapid fire for us to conclude this conversation. It is, what do you think is one misconception that people have about EV startups?
Okay, one misconception about EV startups, like Elon Musk mentioned, right? So manufacturing is like 100 times more complex than, prototyping or, building product, right?
Correct.
So most of the guys who come into this place, yes, they, underestimate the complexity of high scale manufacturing. And building a good product is great, but bringing it to, a reliable way to masses, it's a whole different challenge.
What is the one policy change that you think that will accelerate adoption overnight?
So again, this is something that is a little...
Like, when you go to bed, you'll be like, I wish this could change and my business will flourish immediately more.
So we, more than regulation, like we mentioned, deregulation is the need of our, right? So
please explain what deregulation means.
So basically means, most of our rules that were made, 30 years, 40 years back for the petrol engines and the kind of roads that we had, we are still carrying forward, right? So there are some improvements happening, but not fast enough.
Okay.
It's like a very simple example. We have a sari guard for two-wheelers. When you used to have spokes in the wheel, and someone's sari may get stuck. You used to have this, additional things.
Yeah.
Now, the kind of alloy wheels and hub motors that we use, it is not required. right? No longer required, but that rule still applies. Everyone has to follow. So these kind of one simple example, but there are many of such kind which are hindering our innovation to take new formats. Someone need to imagine, but they need to fit into the existing categorizations, right? So these, if we simplify those fast enough, the process of getting certified, getting RTO approvals, all these are going to have much higher impact on a upcoming startup than an incumbent, right? So they know how to play the game, whereas an incumbent gets surprised, like, this is very non-intuitive. So reducing the simplifying the code, we need strong safety guidelines, but at the same time there are a lot of unnecessary rules that we need to be following. Okay, so that's just the core.
That does make sense. And as a founder, what is a habit of yours that keeps you grounded?
Okay, so so there is no specific, like, my family helps me keep grounded with all the support that they provide. Again, we try too many different things, then they try to help justify. But yeah, it is about, for me, basically, it's all about leadership is all about parenting, right? So if I can put my customer, my employee, my kid, their needs before my needs, then things are automatically very easy to decide, right? When it is all about me, then it becomes far more challenging. Then when I'm thinking about what is right for them, and not exactly what they want, right? The same is with my kids also. It's not about what they want, but what is right for them. And the same is true for my customers.
You want the best.
Yeah, they may want 100 different things, but what is right for them, in my judgment, is what I try to emulate.
And what would be your advice to someone who's building for Indian cities?
For
Indian cities, it
Indian
could be
cities.
anything, not just automobile. It could
Right.
be in like buildings or any business operation.
So yeah, Indian cities are the most toughest places to be, and but at the same time, if we don't revive, it is going to be problematic for us, right? So most of my friends, NRIs and all, who visit, right? So they want to come back, but they are like primarily hindered by the traffic, by the pollution, these things, right? So unless we solve those, it's going to be tough to retain talent. It's going to be tough to attract foreign talent, right? So if we can crack there's a long way to go. Fundamentally, again, our like I was saying, cities have to be accountable. They have to be self-governing, self-improving. We have a roundabout way of structuring things, right? So if people are more involved locally in their communities, and we have to incentivize them to be involved, right? So only then things will change, and they can change. We have demonstrated that in multiple cities, like many northeastern cities. Indore is very good example, right? So even in parts of HSR, we have very clean roads. We have a lot of public participation. So that can be replicated and should be replicated.
Absolutely, I agree. It's been a very insightful conversation, because I feel like iGo is not just building vehicles, but it's been rethinking how Indian cities move, how we all move for a better future. So thank you for taking your time joining me in this conversation to give me the vision and the reality of how the EV ecosystem is growing. So it's been a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for agreeing to come.
The pleasure is all mine, and thank you for your audience for having me, and thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.